Welcome to another episode of Life Between the Young I. I am Sid, and I'm back. And those of you that are listening, thank you for joining. Highly appreciated. We're gonna, give you some education today. Get some skill sets so you can build your wealth and build your health. You're welcome. You don't have to thank me now, but 5 years from now, you'll be thanking me. But not gonna waste any more time. Hope you guys are having a good day, morning, night so far. Whenever you're listening to this, hope you're doing good. But as you read by the title about this today's episode, skills that we can teach the older generation. Now I know what you're thinking. What skills in today's society can we potentially teach to the older generation? And I question myself on that too. But there are things we can teach them. And obviously, they teach us more than we could teach them, considering they have more experience of life. But I feel like in today's society, with all technology and things are just moving at a quick pace and shifting so fast, it's kind of hard for them to keep up. So I feel like there's some things that we could teach them, the skills. 5 of them, if I'm being precisely. So we're going to start with the first one. And these are just my opinion. I'm not saying these are facts. It's just my opinion. So don't bash me on here saying is this really true? Maybe not true. I don't know. That's just me. But the first one, I would say globalization. And what I mean by that, specifically young people, aka me. So we kind of grew up in a globally connected world, consuming entertainment, from other countries, streaming music. We can learn about Spanish culture in our pockets, right? Just learning about equality in different cultures and just getting like a broader perspective of things, considering of this new day and age versus back then, you were only limited to what was around you. Like that's all you knew. And, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but it was like the 1950s, so technology wasn't as advanced. If that makes sense. I'm pretty sure you guys know that though. I don't need to explain that. So I feel like with the older generation, it's kind of like a challenge to them because they're not used to it, if that makes sense. So it's kind of hard of them to, I guess, digest it in a way. And there's plenty of things that we as young people can, teach them when it comes to, I guess, globalization, right? One, we could stay open-minded, curious when they meet the unknown, right? Because sometimes they will freak out. It's not sometimes, it's actually all the time. For example, my grandpa, he freaks out every time he hears LGBTQ because he doesn't know what it is. And I try to explain to him what it is, but he still doesn't understand. And I really don't. I don't know what else I can say. So I'm just gonna. He's okay. He doesn't need to know. He's okay. He's okay. Hopefully he's not listening to this podcast because if he is, then I'm kind of screwed. But anyway, acting responsibly for the greater good of the global world, being aware of how connected, we are between nations and communities, and taking advantage of it, learning different, like I said earlier, different culture, lifestyles, and even search for job opportunities, right? I mean, not that they will want to, because they're at that age of like, yep, I'm about to retire. Like, what do I need to look for a job for? But if you needed to, then there's that option. So I feel like globalization plays a big role of a skill set that the older people. How do I say this nicely? Yeah, not old people. That sounds rude. The more mature generation, I'll put it like that. The mature generation of what they can learn. Digitalization is another one. I mean, come on. Not even a few, only it was invented a few decades ago, right? So it's still fairly new to them, if that makes sense. And they're still not up to par with it, if that makes sense. So it kind of threw him off in a way. Just imagine, right? You're used to everything. Like you just live in life day to day. Everything's just right. And then one day, let's just say a meteor comes out of nowhere, right? And just destroys the planet. But there's a few survivors, right? Not everything's changed and things cannot go back to normal. That's kind of like I guess, not a very good example. It's kind of a little bit too extreme. But you kind of get the point. So being I guess, the older generation, right? You have this new thing called the internet. You've never heard of it before. You don't even know what it means. Barely know what it means. You barely know how to use it. And from now on, your life will be changing forever. You can never go back to the way it was. I'm not saying that life is about change, of course, but a major change like that, it can take time to adjust to and get accustomed to, right? And some are still not even accustomed to it. Which I really feel like technology as a whole should make it easier. Tech companies, for example, should make it easier for the older generation to understand, or make devices for them specifically, so they're not as confused or have to call us every 5 minutes when they need something. But not throwing any shade. Anyway, so I would say, in this specific skill, I feel like we could teach them, teach them how to play with the tools, and not to get overwhelmed by them. Teach them step by step, not too much at one time. I mean, that's for any human, honestly. It can, how gotta say this? It can open up to them to new possibilities, right? And what I mean by that, like I said, back then they didn't have technology. So, and what if you had family, right, across the country, or or your phone's not working? But guess what? You got the internet now. So if you want to talk to them, all you gotta do is look their name up, add them as a friend, and then boom, you're talking to someone 50,000 miles away, which is crazy. It's still crazy to me, honestly. Like that is truly amazing in how far technology has come. Even 10 years ago, technology has advanced so much. Has it put people out of jobs? Yes. Uh, for example, helicopters and pilots and camera crews. We don't need them, and we still do, but now we're adjusting and relying on more of drones, which basically does the same thing. And you're not at fault, right, of a person's life. You don't have to worry about that. And if you crash the drone, you can just buy another one. Versus, if you crash a helicopter, the person dies and the helicopter is gone, which costs us a lot more money. But anyway, it's getting off topic. You kind of see the point where I'm trying to go at. So I feel like digitalization is kind of a skill that they need, in my opinion, especially as we're advancing so fast and quickly. But this next one is kind of like similar to the one prior, connectivity. So obviously, as you know, globalization made us aware of each other's, nations and cultures, and digitalization gave us the tools to build those relationships across the borders. If that makes sense. You know, just of how we, I guess, influence each other, just both as nations and individuals. Because 50 years ago, we wouldn't know anything about the other country, obviously, if they didn't inform us. But now, since everything's online, it's like, oh, these, well, I want to say secrets, but just information you thought you would never hear in your lifetime. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it only makes sense to me, but maybe that's okay. I'm okay with that. Highly okay with that. But you kind of get the gist of it, right? And I feel like the things that they can learn from, being so connected around everyone. One, it increases your productivity, structure and efficiency by connecting to your tools, aka phones. It's connecting with people from all over the world. I mean, come on, like who doesn't want to do that? Well, except for introverts, but who doesn't want to do that? You get to connect to someone, like I said before, 50,000 miles away and just learn their whole life in front of a screen. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's like mind blowing. Maybe it's just me, but like I said before, I am okay with that. Um, but yeah, they can also learn understanding how people, nations, how people. Am I saying this right? Hold on. Let me reword this. Um, I guess understanding how people, nations, and trends and challenges are, I guess, interconnected, if that makes sense. That probably doesn't, but that's okay because I'm okay with that. And for those of you that do understand, I appreciate that. But I would say uh, another one. Like I said, these are just my opinion, so don't attack me. Adaptability. I mean, the world is moving faster and faster, and it's not going to stop, right? And the only way to be successful in this fast-moving environment that we are currently in today, you got to adapt. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, right? Well, for young people, it's not obviously, but for the older people, it's not going to be easy, especially if they're ignorant about technology already. And for those of you that think ignorant is a bad word, it is not a bad word. Ignorant is, I'll tell you the definition of ignorant if I remember it. It's the definition. It's not the definition. It's the concept of not knowing a lot of information about a particular subject, right? So equations, if you don't know a lot about equations, you're not dumb. You're just ignorant because you don't know it. Those are two different meanings. But anyway, off topic. So I kind of feel like they're just ignorant about it. So it would take longer for them to adapt to it, if that makes sense, right? Versus us young people, we grew up in this fast-paced, quick environment, so we were accustomed to it, you know, from a very youthful age, and thus, I guess it possesses. It's kind of like a natural ability, right? Because we're born in it, so it's just natural to us. And so I feel like we're kind of masters at it, and I feel like us being masters, we can teach the students in this sense, the older generation, on how to adapt, right? And I think one of the three keys, in my opinion, right, not getting stuck in old habits, like things you did 20 years ago, you probably can't do that anymore because, like I said, the world is going by quick. So we can teach them, how to get used to that. Seeing change as an opportunity instead of an issue. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all change is good, and I'm not saying all change is bad. But in this sense, it is good because you do not have to live with the old ways. You need change. Change is what makes life worth living. If everything is just the same and everybody's just the same, is that even life? You're just going day by day doing the same thing every day on how you know how. And plus, this is making your brain stronger. Change because you're learning. Learning increases growth. Growth increases that brain power. So really, change is it's helping all of us out, especially the older generation. So you're welcome. That's just me though. But actively bringing change about. No. I'm saying this wrong. I guess how do I say this to make sense? Actively bring about change to society. Um, and what I mean by that is not how do I say this. Each generation obviously is going to be different. When it comes to music, uh, schooling, working, friends, just food, just life as you know it, it would be different for each generation. Um, and some things, we think is cool, they might not think is cool. Some things they think is cool, we might not think is cool. And the next generation after us, they're gonna think the things we do are freaking terrible, right? They're gonna think TikTok is lame. Yeah, I guess it still kind of is actually. They're gonna think YouTube is lame. They're gonna think J. Cole is terrible. And I really hate to think like that, but they're gonna think that, which is, hey man, come to think of it, that's just sad. No, they can't do Jermaine. I can't let them do Jermaine like that. But that's off topic. But you kind of get the point of what I'm trying to get at when it comes to, I guess, to the whole gist of adaptability. Um, and last but not least, when what comes change becomes drive. What I mean by drive, kind of like discipline, dedication, or just like what's getting you up in the morning, what's getting you through the day. Why are you doing this? Things of that. Like I said, each generation has a different drive. So therefore, since this is a new generation and new era, they will need to, I guess, adapt to a new drive. If that makes sense. It's kind of like, how do I say this? Yeah, you get the point. But it kind of, I feel like drive is the most important one on here, though. In my opinion, it's what strongly characterizes us young people um today. And a lot of young people are entrepreneurs and being successful. Even 8-year olds, 11-year olds. I'm like, how is this 11-year old making more money than me? But I'm not hating. I'm actually happy for them because you wouldn't find that 10 years ago. Not even 5 years ago. This is just like kind of like happening like in a 4-year period of all this happening. You got, like I said, 20-year-olds being millionaires. Don't get me wrong, some of it is a scam. So you got to know which one is which. I will admit that. But it's we're making a huge impact on this world, and I'm so proud of us. Yes, we have flaws. Okay, every generation has flaws. Some might have more than others, but that's okay. That's why we learn. Um, and I feel like the skills that we can teach the older generation about this drive is not closing your eyes, to the urgency of global challenges. For instance, global warming, war, um, segregation, um, what's that word? Karens. What's that other word? It's on the discrimination, right? Back then, I'm not saying that they didn't fight for this, right? But since different laws were around back then, so they were very limited of what they could do. So they were, I wouldn't say scared, but they were being very cautious. Nowadays, yes, we still have those laws, but us as young, we don't care. I mean, I care a little bit because I ain't trying to die, but majority of us, we do not care. We would do anything and everything to get what we want or get the change that we need in order to have this to be a somewhat decent world. We're far from that, but we're trying to get there. At least I hope so. But taking action, right, on the issues that matter to you. Um, I feel like that is a big one. Because maybe they wanted to take, like, when they were young. What if they were interested in something, or what if they were gay? I don't know. Or what if they want to learn this and not go to school and be successful doing this instead of getting in debt, right? They had to go by the norm, what was considered quote unquote normal then. So they had to do everything that their parents wanted them to, or thought that was cool, if that makes sense. Nowadays, we do not care. We do not care what you think. I'm not saying we don't care what you think, but we care what you think, but we're still going to do what makes us happy and what makes us want to live life to the fullest each and every day. Not that your opinion doesn't matter, it does matter, but I'm going to take it into my own hand, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying we don't need you. We obviously we need you. Without you, we wouldn't be here. But at the end of the day, we got to do our own exploring, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure you agree with that. So things that matter to you, things that you care about, things you're passionate of, do it. Nothing's holding you back. Just do it. It's 2023. Do it. I'm talking to you, the older generation. Just do it. Like Nike. Hopefully you know what that is. But anyway, following your values and being a living example of what you believe in. And what I mean by that is less than, I think, 30% of the population be people being born between the years of 1934 and 1940. There's only left, which is kind of scary. So those of you that are between that year range, of 1930s and 1940s, possibly early 1950s, and you're still living, I am proud of you. Highly proud of you. You've seen the world change literally before your eyes. It's been the biggest gap of change like ever, and you guys have seen that with your eyes. So that is very inspiring and very beautiful, and I can only imagine of what you guys been through and how you're still here. Very proud of that. So I feel like while you still have time on this planet, while we all still have time on this planet, in my opinion, just do it. Follow it. If it's speaking to you from your heart, just do it. And try to set that example for your grandkids, right? Or for your kids. Teach them something, like we're teaching you something. And just kind of feed off of each other and grow together and love each other and be one happy community. Because at the end of the day, young people are our future and they have so much to offer to this wonderful planet. Trying to be a wonderful planet. So I guess the gist or the conclusion of this whole message is, though you've been through hell and back, and you've probably been through hell and back thousands of times, and you're like, when is it going to end? It will end when you start to begin. And what I mean by that, again, is basically change. Change. Adapting. Drive. They're willing to learn. You might not understand it at first, but if you're at least willing to try, that says a lot right there. That's the first step to anything, is to at least try. We just give it a shot. You might fail, but that's okay. Pick yourself back up. That's progress right there. People don't think that is progress, but that is progress. Because you didn't have to. You could have gave up. You could have quit, but you didn't. So I'm proud of you, older generation, to leading us to where we are now, and now we can teach you how to adapt to where you have led us. Wow, that's a bar. That's a bar. But anyway, for those of you that that are listening, got to the end of this message podcast, whatever you want to call it, highly appreciate it. Hopefully this was very informal to you. And that you learned something from it, and that you can pass it on to others. Share the podcast. To be highly, highly appreciated. And until the next time, I will do. I cannot talk. I'm losing it. I'm sorry. I'm eating some ice cream. But until the next episode, you guys stay safe out there. Be humble. Peace and blessings to all. Hope for the future. And I will see you in the next one. Until then, Sid is out. Peace.